Welcome to Career Tipper Podcast, hosted by Michelle Beatty. The Career Tipper Podcast is a motivational resource that shares career and entrepreneurial tips by industry experts that will help amazing people evolve to their professional best. And now your host, Michelle Beatty.
Episode 34 of the Career Tipper Podcast features Michael Cairns. Michael is a self-taught photographer with an extensive art background. He has been working professionally for over 27 years in his Orlando photography studio and has worked with clients ranging from screen legend Vincent Price to Florida Hospital, Orlando Health, Backstreet Boys, the Commodores, Orlando Magic, the Golf Channel, Mandy Moore, Walt Disney World, and countless others. His personality and ability to warm people up quickly makes him perfectly suited to bring out the best in everyone. Michael is going to share his journey to being a sought-after professional photographer, along with a few tips on how to take a good headshot. I'm your host, Michelle Beatty, professional development author and coach. Michael, welcome to the Career Tipper Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. After that big introduction, I don't feel like I have anything left to say.
I love your work. I personally work with you, and I've followed your career over the years, and I think you're going to give great information today. So,
okay. I hope so too.
I believe it. So when did you know that you wanted to become a professional photographer?
Well, I had a camera since I was in high school. I just worked an entire summer at Disney just to get a professional camera, but I was using it mainly to support my art. So photography wasn't really on the radar for me. I went to school to be an animator and realized pretty quickly that I was not suited to be sitting in a cubicle doing the same work for 4 or 5 years to get to the job I wanted. So it was actually suggested to me, and I ended up interning with a photographer for a year after I left the Air Force, and it clicked with me. It was a job where I get to do something different every day, indoor, outdoor, studio, location, travel, solving a lot of different problems. So I really enjoyed it.
Love it. Now, your studio is called Wet Orange Studio, and you offer multiple services, beyond photography. So why is it important for professional photographers like yourself or striving to be or in the progress of being a professional photographer to consider expanding their product offering to include video, photography classes, or retouching of photos?
Well, doing just photography, you're never going to be as profitable as you want to because there's only one person involved there. So having these multiple income streams allows you to have an income that's a lot better than what you would anticipate from a typical photographer. Actors think the same way. They want to be a film actor. Well, you should probably do commercials. Maybe do some print modeling on the side when you're starting out. Kind of making yourself a kind of go-to person for your agent.
I love that, go-to person for the agent. So, what are a few of your best business practices that that have contributed to you having ongoing clientele success? Because your list is long, and what I really respect about what you do is that you are so personable and you're matter of fact at the same time. So it's like people listen, but it helps them, advance along their career too.
Number one, I want to make sure that people are comfortable in the situation when they come into the studio, whether I come to them, because most people really don't care for being photographed. It's a rare person that walks in and says, I'm so excited to get my photos done. That would be the 1 out of 10. And so I really try to get them to talk about themselves and relax and forget that they're there for a photo session. The other thing I really strive for is under-promising and over-delivering. I think I see a lot of the opposite, where people are saying, I can do this and this and this and this, and then they don't, and it's days, weeks later before photos show up, and people get very frustrated by that.
They do. I understand that. Now, what are some of your professional pet peeves? Because I'm sure you have some.
I've got one big one, and that's being late. I think some people get the impression that because celebrities are late and high-powered people are late, that's the behavior that you should strive for in being successful. But it really comes down to a matter of respect. If you're late for an appointment or late for an audition or a job or anything like that, you're telling those people that you don't respect their time, and it won't make for a very long career.
Agreed. Now, how do you keep up with industry trends and keep your photography skills current? Because you're a globetrotter, so I'm sure it takes some serious work ethic to get up to that level.
Well, at this stage, I do a lot of online courses. It's kind of hard to weed out the good from the bad because there's courses on everything by everybody. So I've got a few go-to instructors that I like to learn from. Learning new techniques, even if I don't use them in my day-to-day work, it just keeps me thinking about photography and being fresh.
Very cool. Now, Michael, you're a humble man, and how has staying humbled served you well in your career?
Well, I am humble. You're right. Sounded very non-humble. It's a business. There's always a better photographer than you. There's always a better actor, a better model, better anything than you. But I know that if I just outwork people, my skill sets and the things that I offer people are going to get noticed because I am working very, very diligently to make sure that they are getting the very best photo that they can.
Very true. Now let's chat about networking. What is your rule of thumb when it comes to growing your professional network?
Well, I think, this sounds like an older person saying this, but I think one of the things I've noticed with the social media phenomena is that it's made a lot of people very passive and lazy in terms of networking marketing. They assume because they have a certain number of followers on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever the case may be, that they are successful and they're going in the right direction. But what it all boils down to is human contact. And so anytime I get into a situation where let's say I'm working with a group of attorneys, I find that I get a lot of other work because I'm talking to them about their passions and their interests. And, it just kind of leads down a path that allows me to kind of branch my network of work out a little bit more.
You've taken a few great headshots of me that has worked in my favor as far as giving that great professional image. So what are a few tips that professionals should keep in mind when preparing for a photo shoot to capture that ideal headshot?
One of the things that I always like to see in a session is to have someone come in very well prepared. They've got plenty of clothing options. They've got themselves on time, early usually, so that they're not stressed out. They're breathing correctly, and they're not making excuses about why they're not there. And also just be very cooperative and friendly with the person that you're working with, because it really is a team effort. If you like being around the person you're being photographed by, more than likely that's going to come through in your facial expressions. It's something I work at to make sure that that's happening. But it's a back and forth. I feel like it's a team effort more than just one person being responsible for the headshot success.
Okay. Now, your photography has gifted you the world of travel. So what are a few professional lessons that your travel has gifted you?
Well, the number one thing, and I have traveled quite a bit, especially this past year, but people are really the same everywhere you go, regardless of the country or their economic situation or geography. They want to be noticed and appreciated, and they want to be respected. And so I try to take that to every session that I'm involved in.
Okay, so what's next for Wet Orange Studio?
Well, I'm definitely going to be doing more traveling. Both of my kids are out of the house and onto their own careers now, so I don't really have anything that's holding me back at home here. And so we'll be doing a lot more travel, which I like. I didn't do that for many years simply because I was a dad and I wanted to be home for dinner every night. So I'm enjoying that part of it, and especially the commercial side, working more on a level that I intended to work in my career. But I enjoy the challenge of working in a commercial situation.
That's awesome. Timing is everything. Now, Michael, I totally appreciate you being a guest on the Career Tipper podcast, and it's just our signature way to end the episode. Please share your favorite quote or affirmation that keeps you creating career tipping moments.
Well, the thing that anybody that knows me will hear at least once a month is that in every scenario in life, you either have a good time or a good story. But in either case, it's all good. So I just try to look at it in a positive way.
Okay. So how can the listeners get in touch with you?
They can reach me at my business number, which is 321-287-6266. They can go to my website, www.wet, that's W-E-T, orange like the fruit, studio, so it's wetorangestudio.com. Also my name, michaelcairns.com. I've got a couple websites. And on Instagram, at mcairnsphoto, that's MCAIRNS photo.
Love it. And you can find me.
I think that covers it.
Yeah, I think you got everything. And you can find me, Michelle Beatty, at careertipper.com and on Instagram and Facebook at careertipper, on Twitter at careertipper1. Please listen and follow to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher Radios. Listeners, thank you so much for following us today. If you enjoyed today's episode or any other episode of Career Tipper Podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember to be confidently you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Career Tipper Podcast. We're grateful for our listeners and guests. For more resources about how to evolve to your professional best, share your comments and feedback about this episode and your suggestions for future guests, visit careertipper.com. Until next time, be confidently you.